Hi everyone, and welcome to this Video Song Frontier video. My name is Jay Wakefield. Now, for those of you who are fans of Billy Carr, aka Road Geeks YouTube channel, you may or may not have seen his latest video. This video is about one of his most favoured Packard Bells, one that he's had for coming up 3 years, the Packard Bell Legend 402 CD. Now, if you've watched the video right to the very end, you'll be aware that he actually recorded an epilogue at the end of the video. And in the epilogue, it actually explains that I'd actually asked for the video, and that, well, basically Billy had done that. And the reason I wanted an update video on the 402 CD was because I quite fancied, getting an update on it. Seeing what it's up to these days, how it's been used, how it's set up, what it's been used for. And all said, I'm glad I did ask for that video because it was a good one. However, talking about the Packard Bell Legend 402 CD, I do like that computer. Now, some of you who regularly watch my channel will know that I am the owner of the next model up in that particular range, the Packard Bell Legend 406 CD. And the thing I like about the 400 series, the 400 CD series, is, well, I like the simplicity of them. I like the software bundle that comes with them, and in my opinion, I think the 402 and 406 CD both make amazing Windows for WorkGroups 3.11 machines, even though I run Windows 95 on my 406 CD. Now, some Blue Planet 64 viewers will remember that for those of you who don't actually have a Packard Bell Legend 406 CD, you'll remember that I did a video tutorial on how to emulate one using Virtual PC. Now, unfortunately, the Blue Planet 64 channel did close, and while I was able to salvage a lot of my autism related videos, I was unable to salvage the 402 CD video. And the other night when I was on Skype, I was chatting to Billy, and he actually asked if I might actually redo this video. So here I am, and what you can see on the screen is my Virtual PC 2007 loaded up, and we're going to make our virtualized 402 CD. Now, while we're going to be able to virtualize the hard disk size and the amount of RAM, and even the Packard Bell installation of Windows for WorkGroups 3.11, we're not going to be able to emulate the American Megatrends BIOS, which is present on the Hillary motherboard, even though Virtual PC does emulate an AMI BIOS. We're not going to be able to emulate the Pentium 75 CPU, nor are we going to be able to properly emulate the sound or graphics card. However, that said, we are going to still be able to, in somewhat of a fashion, build our own virtual 402 CD. Now, in order to do that, you're going to need to maybe download a couple things off the internet. Now, these can be found on driverguide.com. You can either pay for a driver guide subscription, or you can use the driver guide installer. Now, this is perfectly fine, just as long as you have your wits about you and you make sure to decline the installation of any other software, and make sure that the Delta toolbar is not installed. Now, the custom installation may look like it's grayed out on some of these installers. I can't remember if Driver Guide was one of those, but trust me, click on it, it'll suddenly come to life. Anyway, so what you're going to need to download is the S3 Trio 32/64 video driver, Creative Labs SB16 driver. Now if you have a spare Windows 98 boot disk or boot disk image flying about, you might want to extract the oak cd-rom.sys driver from it, and I'm going to show you how to do that and how to properly configure it. Now if you have a CD-ROM driver with its own installation routine, then yay, installer! But I'm going to, do it manually, just to show those who don't necessarily have such a luxury as a self-installing CD-ROM driver. And for internet, you'll probably need the DEC 21140 Ethernet card and driver, and the TCP/IP stack, and you'll also need a web browser. However, for the purposes of this video, we are not going to be looking at that. So basically what I'm just going to do is I'm going to highlight that purple for no real reason. Anyway, let's get started. So, here's a Virtual PC console. As you can see, I've populated mine, but if you haven't populated it, the new Virtual PC wizard might come straight up. If you have populated it, you're going to need to create a new Virtual PC manually. So click on this thing. I'm just going to drag it up here. Welcome to the new Virtual Machine wizard. Here you can just click Next. Now what we want to do is create a new virtual machine, so make sure the top option is selected, and again click Next. Now we want to type a name for this machine. So, most obvious thing, we're going to type Packard Bell Legend 402 CD. Again, click Next. Operating system will set to Other. Now, while Virtual PC 2007 claims that it no longer supports Windows 3.1 or 95 and only supports 98 and up, it still emulates the same hardware, so anything you had for Virtual PC 2004 will work on Virtual PC 2007. Anyway, again we're just going to click Next. Right, we're going to adjust the RAM. 128 megabytes is just too much, and with that amount of RAM, a lot of the software on this machine may be upset. So, the Legend 402 CD came stock with 8 megabytes of RAM, and the maximum that was supported on the Hillary motherboard was 72 megs of RAM. So we're going to make a stock system here, so we're going to go for the 8 megs. And for the hard disk, well, like I said, with a BIOS update, actually I didn't say, with a BIOS update, the Hillary motherboards can support, quite large hard disk sizes, unlike the PB600 board, which is a bit of a shame. However, again, the machine came stock with a specific hard disk, like most computers do, unless you're buying off of eBay, herp derp, or you're buying a bare bones kit. This came stock with a 540 meg hard drive, so that's what we're going to give it. Obviously, no 540 meg hard drive will actually have 540 megs to use, so giving it a wee bit more. Now, at this point, you're either going to want to have images of a custom restore floppy and the Packard Bell master CD, or you're going to want to have the original discs. However, please bear in mind that if you do try and use the original discs, you're not necessarily going to get that far. And there's a good reason for that. The original Packard Bell restore floppy will check to see if a certain CD-ROM drive is installed. Now this doesn't necessarily stop you from being able to install the software in Virtual PC, no more then it lets Packard Bell Legend 402 CDs, which have had their CD-ROM drives replaced, work properly. The proprietary CD-ROM drivers on that floppy disk and the way that it checks for those CD-ROM drives do cause trouble if, like me, you've had to replace a CD-ROM drive in your Packard Bell. And chances are, CD-ROM drives, well, they're motorised. They've got moving parts. So chances are, yes, the CD-ROM drive will have had to be replaced. If you're still on the original one from 1995, well, that's 18 years old. That is a long-lasting drive. Actually, I do believe Billy is on the drive from 1995, so well done, Billy. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to start up the virtual machine, and as we do it, you're going to click on floppy and either capture the disk image or use drive A if you're installing from physical media. Okay, so I'm using a custom disk, which I don't think will work. Okay, so it's always important to ensure, as I didn't, that the restore disk has a version of DOS which matches up to the system you're going to be using. Now, obviously in this case, because we're installing a Windows for WorkGroups 3.11 image, we need to have a DOS boot disk rather than a Windows 95 boot disk. Now, unfortunately, you might see something that looks like it's gone horribly, horribly wrong there, but trust me, it's not. We literally just need to partition and format the hard drive. So what we're going to do, is go to fdisk, create a DOS partition, create a primary DOS partition, and we're going to use all the available space. DOS will restart, insert DOS system diskette into drive A, that's not a problem. Next thing we're going to want to do is format the drive. So, format C:/S to copy some system files over. Excellent. Then once again, we're going to try reboot. Sorry, once again I derped. So, right, okay. So now we're in, using the correct restore CD. So what we want to do is we actually want to restore the hard drive from the recovery CD. Simple task, all you need to do is click here, restore the hard drive files from the master CD. Now it'll ask you for a format number. At this point you really don't need to enter one, because it'll continue on without one, and it'll just ask, do you want to do a generalized install? And well, if I'm going to be honest, the answer to that is yes, because the format numbers only tailor-make the installation to a system that you don't have. So for example, it'll install the right video drivers, it'll install the right drivers for any expansion cards the machine may have come with, any options, for example the PV TV tuner card, the FM tuner card, and of course things like the fast media remote. None of which are really relevant to what we're doing. So we're just going to go for a generalized install, and I click OK. And while this is happening now, this is going to take quite a while. So the best thing that I urge you to do is get the kettle on. Obviously, thanks to the magic of video editing, this process will take merely seconds, and I'll be right back. So, while this is working, let me explain a wee bit about how this restore program works, because I have shown you a few different system restore, recovery, quick restore, factory reset, whatever you like to call it, routines on this channel. Seems to me that the US, well, certainly the US Packard Bell images, at least. I mean, the European ones, I've seen screenshots of the European master CDs from this time. And while the US ones are really nice and graphical, the European ones just seem to be text-based. Not really the most user-friendly, not like these. But the way that this appears to work is that, well, first of all, on an original Packard Bell hard drive, where I had to type in the format number manually, on an original Packard Bell hard drive, there is a hidden partition with a file called pbspec.bin. And that is basically a file that will not only tell the restore program your format number, the restore program of course will look for that file, but if it can't find it, it'll just literally say, well, would you like to type in a format number? Which is actually really quite helpful, you know, if you want to do a hard disk upgrade, or if your hard disk fails and you need to replace it. What the pbspec.bin file also does is, you'll see once this machine is restored, there will be a program installed called System Credentials. Now this program, what it does is it gives you a lowdown on, well, not just the specifications of the machine, for example, you know, how much RAM it will have came with, the size of the hard disk, what drives it's got, what graphics it's using, what sound it's using, any, you know, extras that the machine came bundled with. But it also has things like the test date when the machine was tested, which, you know, a lot of my friends and I will kind of take to be the machine's birthday. Oh, here we go. The restoration was successfully completed. But pbspec.bin aside, what this program appears to be is just an xcopy command. If you look on this master CD, you will basically see program files and folders basically ready to be copied over and just dumped on a hard drive. Because back in the day with Windows 3.11, you could do that. You could literally just xcopy a system from one drive to another. I still wouldn't recommend it, but it was possible. Now, let's finish. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit the restore program, wait for the floppy drive light to turn on and then turn off, then remove the diskette from the floppy drive. Press any key to continue. Now, here is where it starts to get complicated due to this being a virtual machine. Oops. Bit less complicated than that. That was a bit silly. It says to remove the disk, but it doesn't actually mean it. Now, this is where it will try and auto-detect the devices. Now it's saying it's unable to detect the sound card or the CD-ROM drive. But that's okay. What's going to happen next is Windows is going to attempt to start, but will be unable to do so. Okay, interface border CD-ROM drive is not ready. Ensure that the ensure, not ensure, ensure, as in insurance. Fail. Ensure that the drive is on. Ensure that the drive power is on and the drive cable's correctly attached. Abort or retry? Well, we're going to abort, otherwise we'd be here all the day. Yep. So, now Windows is trying to start, but it's failing. Herp down. That's okay. Take note of this file. VSGLX16.386. Now, the reason that this has failed, good reason for that, it relates to the Aztec Washington sound card, which is not installed. So when you press any key to continue, you get another error, an error card while trying to initialize a video adapter. Hit any key to continue, and then you'll be spat out back to DOS. Again, all these things are fine. A couple of things we need to do. First thing, we need to sort out that VSGLX16 file. So, what I want to do is CD into Windows, and then we want to edit system.ini. And what we're going to do is we actually have control of the mouse here. What we're going to do is we're going to search for a line. Well, search for a phrase. VSG. And there you go. Device VSG LX16.386. Now, people say that it's a good idea not to delete anything out of these system files. However, what we can do is we can keep this line there, but we need to tell the computer to ignore it. And the way to do that is just to literally type REM and then put a space. And that literally, as a programmer would say, comment out the line. So there you go. However, we're not out of the woods yet. The next thing we need to sort out is a display driver. Now, for me, I have it on a CD-ROM image. You may have burnt it yourself to a CD-ROM. If you fitted it on a floppy disk, that's fine. But for now, what we're going to do, next thing we're going to do is configure the CD-ROM driver. So, I want you to reach your Windows 98 boot disk or boot disk image and put that in now. Now, I hope you've not tried booting from that disk just yet, because that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to copy the old CD-ROM.sys file. I'm just going to go CD /, I'm going to copy it to the DOS file, the DOS folder. And then to copy the file over, I want to type copy /oak CD-ROM.sys. And because I'm in the DOS directory, that is all I need. I can just click enter and the file will be copied. And that's it. However, we now need to tell the computer how it's going to load this driver. So what we're going to do is we're going to CD / out of the DOS directory, and then we're going to type edit C : / config.sys. Ooh, lots of things in here. Right. Once again, we have a line that we want to comment out. Now, this line is for the Aztec Washington sound card. Now, while the 402 CD supported the TAPI CD-ROM drivers, the Aztec Washington had its own CD-ROM drive controller on board, as before a TAPI came out. That's generally how CD-ROM drives connected to the computer. They interfaced using the sound card. Now, unfortunately, while it looked like an ID controller, they really weren't universally compatible. So, for example, I mean, you could have a Panasonic CD-ROM drive with a Panasonic CD-ROM drive controller board, but that isn't to say that another CD-ROM drive from a different manufacturer would work with that controller board, or that your Panasonic drive would work with a different controller board. Now, all that sort of political stuff aside, in the case of Virtual PC, it is a TAPI. We don't need this file, we don't even have this sound card, so we're just going to, once again, we are going to comment it out. Now, what we do want to do is we want to add a line to config.sys. Config is basically loaded by MS-DOS. It loads device drivers into memory. Now, a CD-ROM support in MS-DOS is made up of two things. You have the actual driver, and then you have the CD extensions, which enable DOS to assign a drive letter to the CD-ROM drive and basically just enable usage. Now, what we're going to do here is we are going to load the CD-ROM device driver, that's the oak cd-rom.sys file, into memory, and we are going to make it tell a name. Well, we're going to make it give a name to the computer that can then be accessed by the MESSIDEX CD extensions file. I know I've probably lost you a bit here, but here we go. I do apologise. So, if you remember where we copied the oak CD-ROM file, I'm going to type device, and that will tell the config.sys file that I'm loading in a device driver. I'm going to type device equals c:\DOS /oak cd-rom.sys. Now that driver needs to tell MS-DOS a friendly driver name, and to do that we're going to type /d:. Now in here you can pretty much type anything you want. However, I'm going to do it the way that it's done on the Microsoft Windows 98 boot disk, and if I'm going to be honest, I would suggest that you do this too. So we're going to call it MSCD001, and that's it. That's the CD-ROM drive. That's the CD-ROM driver taken care of. That will be loaded into memory when DOS starts up. However, that does not mean the CD-ROM drive will be usable. We still need to load in the MESSIDEX file, the Microsoft CD extensions, which, like I said, will assign a letter to the drive and render it accessible to MS-DOS. Now, MESSIDEX is a program, so that has to be loaded into the autoexec file. Now, the autoexec file is a batch file of commands that will fire as your computer starts up. If you can imagine autoexec as the MS-DOS's startup folder, and that's generally used to load terminate and stay resident programs such as drivers, that sort of thing, into memory. Basically, load up commands that you'll always need. So the autoexec file is in the C drive in the root directory. So again, we're going to open a file, c:\autoexec.bat. Excellent. Now, there's quite a few things that I'm going to need to comment out here. Things that are to do with the non-existent sound card and CD-ROM driver. Right. Well, maybe that can stay actually, but we're going to change. We're not even going to let that stay in its current form. So we want to comment out c:\snd144. Well, basically with sound 144 in it. So we want to comment that out. MS input can stay. The mouse driver can stay. This, we're going to remove that and just have. Basically, the way this works is you've got c:\DOS/mscdex.exe. Now that's loading the MESSIDEX program. Now we need to tell it to look for the CD-ROM device driver. And do you remember we had to give a friendly name to it? Well, now we need to tell MESSIDEX to go and look for that friendly name by once again using the /d switch and pointing it to MSCD001. That's why I was able to keep this line in, because it's using because it knows which one to look for. Smart drive we can keep. When set up. Right, set blaster, that's to do with the sound card. Gonna comment that. Gonna comment the set Galaxy, because that's to do with the Aztec Washington sound card. And we're gonna set sound equals C:\sound 144. Comment that out. Excellent. Now, with all that done, we're going to need to save and exit. Now, what I want to do is restart. Now, bearing in mind Windows is set to start automatically with the computer, so once again we are going to see an error, but we'll now only see the video driver error. And you may have seen the CD-ROM drivers actually loading. Now, to check it even works, we're going to go to D:, and it's saying invalid drive specification. Something's not went right here. So what I'm going to do is, for a moment, I'm just going to comment out the line that starts Windows and the last line of the file, just to see what's going on. Ah, there's one too many ones there. I can attribute that to my visual difficulties there. And now that I know what the problem is, I'm going to comment Windows and this last message file back in. Excellent. Right, so to test that the CD-ROM drive works, we're going to go to D:. Now D is recognised as a drive. Can it read from a CD? Is there a CD in the drive for it to even read from? The master CD is still in there. To check that it can read from that, we're going to type dir/w to return a directory listing. Oh yeah! So now with that in place, let's get onto some driver installations. So, grab the CD that all your drivers are on, and excellent. Right, now, unfortunately Virtual PC's display driver for the S3 Trio 32/64 video card, which Virtual PC emulates, it does not seem to like being installed when everything else is running. So, what we're going to have to do is load a minimum DOS mode where it doesn't load any drivers or anything to actually be able to install the device driver. Now, with no drivers, that means no CD-ROM access. No CD-ROM access means that you would not be able to access the drivers from a CD, meaning that we'll have to copy them to the hard drive. Not a problem. Take note of where you copied your drivers to. I copied my display drivers to a directory called S3DRV on the CD-ROM. So what I'm going to do, go back to the C drive, make a directory on there called S3DRV. Now, what we're going to want to do here is copy everything from the S3DRV folder on the CD-ROM drive. And to tell it that we want to copy everything from that folder, we need to type d:/S3DRV \, and then we need to type *.*. So basically copy any file of any name with any extension. Now when we press enter, we see that 54 files are copied. Excellent. Now, what I'm about to show you next on a regular install of Windows 3.1 would require you to have the Windows 3.1 disks handy. However, on this installation, all the contents of the Windows 3.1 disks have been put conveniently in a directory or folder called WinDRVS. And the machine has been set so that when it wants to look for anything on a Windows 3.1 disk, it knows to look in that directory instead. Just to kind of let you know that if you're trying this on a non-Packard Bell machine and it's asking you for the Windows 3.1 disk, that is why. You can give it, it'll be fine. It'll just install. It just needs, to reinstall some font files and what have you from the original setup disks. That's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to restart the PC. Right Alt and R is a shortcut to do that. Now, as it says starting MS-DOS, we're going to press and hold the Shift key. And as you can see, a basic DOS prompt is loaded. Now, with that in mind, we're going to need to start Windows Setup. We start that from the Windows directory. The way to do that is to CD into Windows and then type Setup. Excellent. Now while I'm here, I'm going to change the keyboard layout to British. You can keep it whatever you like. Now, what I am also going to do, Super VGA 640 by 480, going to scroll up to Display, select that, and then we want to tell it that we want to install a driver from another disk. So scroll all the way down to the bottom. Other requires disk provided by a hardware manufacturer, and then press enter. Now we put the display driver files in a directory called in the C drive called S3DRV. So we're going to press enter, and then Setup will look in there, and sure enough, it's found some drivers. So we're just going to use a 640 by 480 256 color drivers. 256 color driver. You can change that again by just following the same steps if you needed to use a higher color mode. So what we're just going to do, we're going to press enter to select this one, press enter again, and then it will go off and install the new display driver. Excellent. That's that installed. Now, to be able to get everything to work properly, what we will need to do now is go back to Microsoft Windows. Well, no, we'll need to restart the computer, sorry. Now, when we do, we'll actually be able to get into Windows, but we will be met with another error message which we are going to sort out. And there's something that I probably should have done that I didn't, and you'll see what it is. As you can see, we're in the Packard Bell install of Windows. And here's Navigator. Now at the moment he's awfully quiet, but that's okay. We're going to go into Program Manager, going to go down to Main, and we're going to go into the control panel. Now first of all, if you'll indulge me, I would really like a larger mouse pointer, if that's not too much trouble. Now here is what I should have done. Faxworks was unable to initialize the modem. That's because there's no modem in here. And yes, you can configure Virtual PC to use an existing dial-up modem, but let's say for example you don't have one. Well, there's quite an easy way to sort that out, and I will show you after this. We want to delete the remnants of the SND144 driver, and the way to do that is to go to drivers, and you see where it says 16-bit audio driver. We're going to select that, and then we're going to click remove, and it's going to say the 16-bit audio driver driver is required by the system. If you remove it, your system may not work properly. Are you sure you want to remove it? Yes, we do. And then we want to restart, and unfortunately, because FaxWorks is installed, this is going to hold it up quite a bit. But while it's doing that, there's the system credentials program that I was telling you about earlier. Now, as you can see, while there's still no sound, there is now no longer any errors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close out of Windows, because there's a couple of things that I need to do. I need to install the sound driver, but before that I need to delete FaxWorks. And you can do that very safely, even though FaxWorks is running now and it runs when the computer starts up. We can delete it and not have to do anything in Windows. And the easiest way to do that is to, at the command prompt, type del tree /FaxWorks, and it will ask me delete the directory /FaxWorks and all its subdirectories. Type yn, and I'm just going to type Y for yes and press enter, and that's away. So now I need to install some some sound drivers. Again, I'm going to copy it over. Like I did. With the, oh my goodness, with the display drivers. Oh yeah. Copy. Now we're going to install it. Press enter. Alright, it's going to proceed using the settings shown. Audio cards path CSB16, Microsoft Windows 3.1 path Windows, system backup drive // boot up drive, sorry. So we're going to press enter. It's going to tell us where it's all going to be installed. It's found the settings for the audio card. So we're going to press enter to continue. It's going to make some changes to the auto-exec file and the config file. That's fine. And then we're going to replace the auto-exec, replace the files that it asks us to. It's perfectly fine. And then to reboot, we're going to press. So normally here I would press F10, but unfortunately doing so is going to stop the screen recorder. So what I'm going to do instead is press enter, and we'll reboot manually. Now, before we do that, we're going to edit the auto-exec file, because you'll find that some of the files have been... Actually, no. They haven't. That's really quite good. They've stuck it in at the beginning. So that's fine. So we've checked that. So let's restart. Let's see if we get our computer now with some sound. Aw, yeah.
Welcome from Packard Bell. We offer you two computing environments to choose from, Packard Bell's Navigator or Microsoft Windows. You may also begin by taking a quick lesson on using the mouse.
Excellent. Packard Bell Navigator's come up, and this wee guy has come up saying audio group window is created. And there you have it. That's the Packard Bell set up. So, a couple of things I would change. I would have it say save settings on exit. Now, there are a couple of issues with this. First off, the system credentials program will not work. Here, let me show you what I mean. Because the system credentials program looks for the pbspec.bin file and it's not here, that program will just stay like this forevermore, and you can't move your mouse outside the confines of this window, which is really quite odd. You're probably looking at the screen now going, why am I doing that? You know, why can't I just, you know, kind of move my mouse? Why am I circling, you know, this wee window? But there's nothing I can do. Even with Program Manager. Oh! Error obtaining system information. There you go. The disk image program, that will no longer work. However, you can use Navigator, and provided you have images of the CDs for all of these programs, you can use these as well. And as well, you can use Microsoft Works, Microsoft Money, and all the other Windows programs, as well as the entertainment pack for Packard Bell. However, if you had any dreams of using anything with MIDI sound, think again. Because, have a listen to this, I'm going to do a short canyon test, and when I say short, I mean short, and you will soon see why. Whoops. Alright, everybody ready? Sounds pretty harmless at the moment. For some reason it seems to be a delay and then an echo. So it's like if you keep that sound playing, it'll just be... Here's the best bit, if you stop it, sometimes it'll just be like, it'll have to catch up, so have a listen again at the beginning. Oh, it's not doing it this time. Sometimes you'll hear a bit of overspill, it'll be like, meh, meh. But aside from that, this is the Packard Bell Legend 402 CD virtualized. Sound, graphics, CD-ROM drivers, software, even Navigator.
Welcome from Packard Bell.
Everything. And there you have it. And that concludes this Video Some Frontier video. If you enjoyed watching this and you liked what you saw, please feel free to subscribe to my channel if you've not already done so. The URL will of course follow. While you're at my channel, if you've not already done so, please feel free to watch back episodes of different videos that I've put up, all my other videos should I say, and I hope you'll all join me for my next video. Thank you for watching, and see you all for my next video.